What's up? It's Andy. I'm here to help you take on the house today. It's going to be me and you versus the house on No House Advantage. No House Advantage is an awesome new fantasy platform. It combines player props with fantasy, and it rolls it into one simple platform where you pick player props and make money. There are two types of contests. Today, we're going to use the Versus the House feature, where if you get 5 player props right, you net up to 20 times your money. Then there's the Pick'em contest, which is like a tournament-style contest where the more player props that you pick correctly, the higher you ascend in the standings towards a top prize, just like any other tournament. Make sure you check out that video that we actually submitted yesterday. But today, we're going to try to take on the house and net up to 5 times our money. If you go to No House Advantage using the link in the description of this video, they're actually going to match your first deposit up to $50. It's a great deal. Take advantage of it. Only so many weeks left in this NFL regular season, but do you want to know why it doesn't matter? Because on No House Advantage, you can mix sports. You can take 2 from the NHL. You can take 2 from the NFL. I'm going to focus on NFL today, but if you're a jack of all trades, or in my case, a jack of all sniffs, then feel free to mix and match player props from different sports to get that 20 times your money. But today I'm going to focus on the Jets and Jags. And I personally believe, along with the lines makers, that this is going to be a crusty, low-scoring game. It's going to be, the over is set at like 37. And when it's that low, I actually like taking the under. I believe this is going to be, and this is not a, for all sports betting advice, you go to Odds Shopper. I have a Thursday Night Football video. However, that's actually going to guide my picks for this Versus the House contest. First of all, I'm taking the under on Trevor Lawrence's passing yards. In a game in the Northeast with winds and rain, cold, this long-haired Florida Fabio, I believe, is going to have more of a controlled approach. I think it's going to be a lot of short to intermediate stuff, running the ball. This game is supposed to be close. And I don't think they're going to have to wing it all over the place like they have had to the last couple of weeks when they trailed in some of these games. So I'm going to take the under on Trevor Lawrence passing yards along with the under on Travis Etienne rushing yards. They have the total set very high. I know he's a dynamic runner when you get him in space. However, the Jets defense is going to be playing for their lives out there. And before last week, he had a pretty good week on the ground last week, but before that, he was struggling during the second half of the year. Don't forget, this is basically a rookie. Missed his whole rookie year, has never played a season this long going back to his college days. Maybe that wear and tear starting to pile up on him. And then once again, a cold, wintry night in the Northeast against the Jets defense doesn't look like optimal conditions to break out on the ground, if you ask me. Then as far as the Jets go on their side of the ball, I believe they're going to try to run the ball as much as possible. I'm going to take the under on Zach Wilson's passing yards, I'll tell you that. I believe the Jets are going to run a ton and try to limit the mistakes from Wilson, have their defense and running game win them this, because if you're going to have your season on the line, you're going to default to your best characteristics and traits, and that's going to be the Jets defense. So I'm going to take the under on Zach Wilson's passing yards, but I am going to take the over on Evan Ingram's receiving yards. We've seen the last couple of weeks, Trevor Lawrence really seems to be trusting him. It's not just like earlier in the year where it's, okay, 2 or 3 catches, maybe an end zone target. He's really been raking up those targets these last couple of weeks. And in a game where I think they're going to attack underneath and intermediate to try to methodically move the ball down the field, I think he's the one good bet, at least one that I feel comfortable with, to go over. And those are some of the picks that I got for you to help you beat the house on this Thursday night. You can always go to Stokastic.com and check out their projections for this contest. They have free optimal lineups and projections for the No House Advantage contest. You should definitely check that out. It will be worth your while. All right, everybody, I'll be back with you to talk about the Pick'em contest on Saturday. We got another slate of Saturday games, which is always a nice thing to see. I will be back with you then. Take it easy.
And that's during the day.
Yeah. That's the high.
The 4 hours of sunlight you get.
We get a stretch like this every year, and it's just... It's terrible, man. Makes the rest of the winter feel really nice, though. You're like, oh, it's 10 out. Balmy. Let me get my shorts.
Well, here in Florida, it'll go down to 55 tonight. People be, oh, gosh, this cold front is brutal.
I go to Arizona a lot and visit my parents there because they vacation there, and it's the same thing. It's like it's like 60 out. People like snow jackets on, driving the golf course. I'm like,
get soft real fast.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
I was gonna text you about it, man. It worked out for us.
What is up? It's time for some Thursday night football. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. We got some weather. We've got a really hot offense in the Jacksonville Jaguars and a really good defense in the Jets. Pete McCarthy, Geoff Ulrich breaking this one down. Give us a like, subscribe, keep up with all of our shows or DFS offers. And once you do subscribe, hit that notification button. That's going to give you alerts when our shows go live. Geoff, how are we feeling on this Thursday?
Oh, doing good, man. You know, it's busy time, obviously. Lots to prepare for. Christmas season coming up, but Saturday football slate too, just throwing a huge wrench in things. But I mean, this is a weirdly interesting game, isn't it? Who would have thought? Jags and Jets, the NFL probably made this schedule and they were like, enjoy this, suckers. But it's actually got a lot of meaning tonight. I'm actually excited to watch it. So
it's an elimination game for my Jets. I'm a Jets guy, so I'll tell you that right up front. And then as far as the Jaguars go, I mean, they're in the mix for the AFC South title, looking at those Titans and Trevor Lawrence really taking a big step in his career. So that's exciting as well. Hey, if you haven't hit the Hall of Fame yet, let's tell you how to get into the Hall of Fame. You can download the Stokastic avatar, stokastic.com/avatar. You get in the top 3 of a DFS contest with over 5,000 contestants. You tweet that win to @StokasticHOF, and you win a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. I will make no promises about this, but if you do the same thing in No House Advantage, take down the big contest, send the tweet, see what happens. I don't know what's going to happen. I can't promise you anything.
Hey, I'll make
but
it
hopefully
happen.
one of our people will take care of you.
You just tweet me on it. I'll make them do it.
Geoff will make it happen. He's got the pull to do that kind of thing.
I don't, but I'll try it for you.
He'll send a harshly worded DM on your behalf, and we'll see what happens. So what we got tonight? We got $15 entries, 10,000 to first place of the showdown, 1,600 total entrants. Kind of the basic we've seen on these Thursdays. A lot of overlay generally on these Thursdays, though it does look pretty busy already today, so we'll see how that goes. Basics of this game, the Jets are about a field goal favorite, a little less than that. Really low over-under at 36.5, and the weather is going to be a factor in this game. Rain, temperature in the 40s, no big deal, but a lot of wind at MetLife Stadium as well. I think we're going to have a lot of lineups, Geoff, that are pounding the under. I think that is going to be the safe way to walk into this thing with the way it's setting up on this Thursday night.
Yeah. I mean, I just Googling weather just to make sure I didn't miss anything, but now I'm a bomb cyclone set to put people under life-threatening conditions. Anyways, man, look, this whole week is going to be like this. I mean, the weather, everything, but I mean, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, like compared to some of these other spots, you're going to get bouts of probably gusts and stuff, and like a little bit of sleet maybe or something. But like if this wind holds up for a little bit, I mean, it's not that cold. That's the one thing that I kind of like has me a little bit interested in this game, potentially being a little bit more bullish towards taking an under leverage side. So I think most people will be absolutely, like you said, piling on the unders here. Doesn't mean you have to go over everybody, but there's going to be a lot of leverage opportunity. And we've talked about this before. The reason we bring up the top prizes in these contests is because they're top heavy. And when you're playing them, you need to be playing for the top prizes. You need to make lineups that have a legitimate shot at getting you there. And man, like if we see a little bit more passing, the game opens up a little bit, your lineups are going to be going up against so many less people because of that. So something to keep in mind. Again, you don't have to waste all your lineups or your entries on it, but I would definitely be looking to make at least one leverage lineup with some overs on the passing game today.
Yeah, I think a few weeks back, just to give you an example, it was Bills Patriots on Thursday night. I got all 7 right. I was feeling like a genius, but it was all under. And I think every prop except one in the game was under. and it didn't pay for a lot. It's like, 5 or 6 times my entry fee, and I was like, oh, this isn't as exciting as I was hoping for. So yeah, you gotta mix it up a little bit if you're gonna try to take home the big prizes and separate yourself a bit. So let's dive into this Jaguars offense. It's been absolutely red hot. The big 17-point comeback against the Cowboys last week. Trevor Lawrence playing like an absolute 1-1. Look, he's going up against a very good Jets defense that has 2 outstanding corners. We don't know if Quentin Williams is going to play tonight. That is a big Q tag. He's going to be a game time decision. Keep an eye on that. But I mean, it's a big number. 262.5 passing yards for Trevor Lawrence. Our projections, which are free, Stokastic.com, NFL free tools, and you can check out No House Advantage there. We projected for under 200 yards passing tonight, 84% chance of being under. So there's a way to get different there, obviously. I mean, I don't know. I don't think the over is crazy with the way Trevor Lawrence has been playing football in recent weeks. What say you?
Lawrence has been weird too. I mean, like, he seems to either be his whole season has been he's smashing to the under with like 160 yards, or he's absolutely just going crazy with like 330. So again, like, yeah, this projection seems crazy. It's bigger than we've seen in multiple spots on books. And obviously our projection, and I think a lot of people's projections will have him like with just a very big under chance on a line like this, but he's certainly, more than capable. And this offense, again, like, people need to get it out of their minds. Like, this isn't Urban Meyer running it. This is Doug Peterson, a guy who likes to open it up. And is certainly very good at just, getting his weapons in space and making the most out of the personnel he has. So I think that this is a prop where, do I think that like he's got would if gun to my head, am I taking the under? Yeah, obviously. But do I think Trevor Lawrence has a little bit better chance than 10% of going over here? Yeah, I actually do. And I don't know if more than 10% of the lineups will take the over here. I think this is one where you're going to get everyone just plugging their nose and be like, I'm not taking 262 in this game. There's no chance. Mm-hmm. You got Sauce Gardner on the other side, all this stuff. But, Evan Ingram, legit after the catch, racking up those yards. Etienne Kirk, he could get there. Like, he really could. We need a little bit of a weather pocket, obviously, to cooperate. But, yeah, like, this is one, again, I would burn a lineup here. I really would. I think you'll be over on so much of the field by going over here that, the juice is worth the squeeze, so to speak. So,
and we talk about this a lot, just because you have something like this that we're saying, or our projections are saying 84% under, doesn't mean you necessarily have to take the over. Sometimes you can leave it off the board. We don't have much of an option to leave players off the board here. There's only 10 total players, and Zonovan Knight is questionable. He's expected to play. Lawrence is also questionable, but he's expected to play, so we're not going to spend any time on that. But you can look at the passing touchdowns. That would be a better over for him to get to 2 passing touchdowns. We give that a 33% chance of happening. You could dabble in the interceptions, which we have at about a coin flip. If you are going to get different with Lawrence, do you not necessarily go over on the yardage, or do you just steer into, hey, this is what's making my lineup different, I'm running with it?
I mean, I'm okay. Like, again, this is all about, like, risk assessment and stuff like that. But, and again, like, we're talking multiple entries as well. But, like, I think if you're going over on Trevor Lawrence, like, you're kind of just, you're running the gamut here. Like, you're probably looking to take like Chris Kirk over, maybe Marvin Jones as well. Zay Jones,
of course, he's been red hot. Ingram has been red hot.
Obviously Jones is a little bit worrisome because he's going to have he's most likely going to see the toughest matchup, but at the same time, like,
Marvin Zay.
Yeah. So, like, go, but you don't have to. And the other thing is, like, you don't have to use all of their receivers. Like, you could just use Kirk. You could go bullish on him, which I think is fine. But yeah, this is a situation where the total is so big on Lawrence that, like, if he gets there, I mean, I think that he probably pulls most of these guys over. Like, it's really hard to see. So I like Ingram. I do like Ingram a lot. Like, I think that's probably the one place where I'd feel the most comfortable going over first, like the 39.5 Potentially even, oh yeah, he does have the reception. You actually have the receptions for Ingram projected as an over, so maybe that's where we should start. But I would mix in, like I would take it right to the extreme. Like I said, start with Ingram over receptions maybe, and go to Kirk over yards. I mean, why not? Like if you're playing for Lawrence to get there, somebody is breaking off some chunks for him. And Kirk has been really dynamic in the slot. Gone over 100 yards, I think 3 times this year. Just need a little bit of cooperation. Doesn't have to be much with Mother Nature, I think. So
no,
again,
these aren't big lines.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's going to make your lineup so unique, right? So playing for a big leverage here, but with the risk comes a reward. If this hits, you will have a very, very unique starting trio there.
Yeah, what I'll tell you about Kirk. So again, our projections have him well under 2/3 of the time under on receiving yardage, 56% under on receptions, but over the last 8 games, he's been targeted 72 times. So Christian Kirk is getting 9 targets per game over about half a season now. I mean, that's opportunity, even dealing with Sauce and DJ Reed. I mean, 2 really good corners here, but guys that can go over the middle a little bit, I think can have some success. The big play the Jets gave up last week was to Brock Wright, the Lions tight end. So if you want to look at Evan Ingram, he's been on fire of late, 224 yards receiving over the last 2 weeks combined. The other one that jumped out to me was Marvin Jones. And while his numbers are very low, he's been under 33 yards in each of the last 4 weeks. And he's been under 3 catches in 4 out of 5. He did have 6 targets last week, but that was really like a come from behind, we're passing every down scenario for the Jaguars. So he's been kind of on the outskirts, whereas Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram have been the passing game here.
Agreed. I mean, and they're going up against a tough secondary, but do the Jets have the personnel to shut all these guys down? I think you kind of made a good point there. Like there will be some opportunities. So Kirk has averaged over 70 yards over his last 6 games. Like it's not a small sample, right? We know what Evan Ingram's been doing. I think one of these guys probably goes over. Like there's a really good chance. I mean, it's a tough spot for the Jets. This is all of a sudden like a really tough second or receiving core to kind of put a cap on. So, maybe the Mother Nature just wrecks havoc and like none of this is even relevant because like no one can complete a forward pass. But again, if the conditions hold up a bit, I think someone probably has a big game here from the Jags. So going to be a good contrarian move on one of these players. I think Ingram will probably be the one player where the field probably gravitates more towards. But again, that big line on Kirk, man, like he has gone over that more times than not over the last few weeks. There's no reason why I can't do it again. So really interesting kind of setup there with all the names and just how productive these guys have been late.
And this is what's fun about playing a no house advantage. Their pickup contest specifically is it's not just, hey, this is 60% chance, so play it. Boom, just win and that's it. There's a little game theory here. You want to be a little contrarian without being dumb. And our tools can help you out with all of that, but you're trying to beat out, 1,199 other people tonight. So you got to find a way to get just a little bit different. Actually, it's 1,599 different people in the flagship contest. So, that's how you get the big prize, $10,000 tonight. If you like it a little more straight ahead, you can play versus the house. You can take 5 different props. You can mix in some NBA. There's not a whole lot tonight, just 2 games. But we'll have the NBA show coming up for you right after this. And you can play against the house, try to hit 5 out of 5. You can hit up to 20 times your money on that. If you haven't signed up for No House Advantage, $50 free deposit bonus. Take care of that at the link below. And we make it pretty simple for you, both NBA and NFL. We have free projections for No House Advantage over at Stokastic.com. Also, we have free optimal lineups that you could download and just upload straight into No House Advantage if you want to mass multi-enter into these contests, NFL, NBA, any given day. If you see a whole lot of overlay in the minutes before, that is something you could do to try to take advantage of that. So let's look at the Jets offense here a little bit closer. We'll get into the running games in a little bit. Zach Wilson. Everybody loves crapping on this guy. He stinks. He's a terrible quarterback. I've watched him a lot. 200.5 passing yards. Hey, he went well past that last week. 300 plus against the Lions. He does it all in like 4 or 5 different plays. He's going to look to throw the ball down the field. the projections from us are pretty much spot on here with Zach Wilson. Are we? I guess the thing is the Jaguars have the worst defense in the league, according to Football Outsiders DVOA. What ends up being the worst here, Zach Wilson or the Jaguars defense?
So yeah, Zach Wilson is interesting as well. I think if you're going to take a more, I don't even know, just conservative, just like if you were just making like a single, let's call it a single entry lineup. Let's say you have one lineup to burn. I think you take the unders on Lawrence. Maybe you take the under on a guy like, let's say Marvin Jones as well. But then I think a good way to just get in like one or two contrarian plays, and maybe they're not like 1% owned plays, but like Zach Wilson to the over here does make sense to me. The Jaguars they're basically what I don't even know. Like they're kind of like the Titans. They're just a funnel to the pass. They hold up the run pretty good. They're going up against a Jets team who really hasn't run the ball that well the last couple of weeks.
No.
And they're probably going to force Zach Wilson to chuck the ball downfield a little bit. And Wilson, he's inefficient, like you said. He's probably going to complete like 16 passes, but he'll connect a couple times. He's got Elijah Moore, Wilson. I think this is totally doable. And I kind of like the over. Like I said, too, you can, if you use the over there, I think that's actually going to be like not a highly owned prop. So it won't be really super minuscule or anything like the Lawrence over we're talking about, but it's a good way to mix in with some of these other more popular props, because you can still eat some chalk. Like you don't have to make every lineup crazy, like 1%ish here. So I think that's a really good move. And I think another player you could kind of pair him with is actually Zonovan Knight to the under. We do have him projected to the over, but it's a thin over. It's like a 10% play. And like Knight is interesting. He didn't look that good last week. There was the ankle issue, didn't really practice. Now I know he's off the injury report and stuff, but this is a tough rush defense. They still have Michael Carter, who played over 50% of the snaps last week. Like if Knight doesn't do much in this game, I'm not going to be overly shocked. I'm actually a little shocked we have him for this high projection, but that's another thing. I mean, whatever. Obviously we trust the projections, but again, the projections are also saying like this line is pretty big for him as well. Like we don't have it as a strong over. So I think completely fine going kind of mixing and matching with those two. Good correlation there. If Wilson's throwing a bit more, it just means a few less rushes for Knight as well.
Well, what about Michael Carter then? So we'll get into the Jets running game a little bit. Only 29.5 rushing yards, which is why you even consider him, because he's really been a non-factor for the Jets, and a big fumble late against the Buffalo Bills. And even last week when Knight got hurt, the Jets didn't exactly start giving the ball to Michael Carter a whole lot. Now, they've been talking a lot this week about getting the run game going, and they want to because they don't want Zach Wilson throwing 60 times. But, if you don't like Knight and you're worried about the ankle, is there room to push for Michael Carter, even if we haven't seen him as a big factor in the run game for the Jets recently?
This is a little bit of the guessing game, and I think you make a good point. Like maybe this is a good one just to leave out. Because I don't really know what they're going to do. And I don't like guessing in situations like this. Like, do I think it's feasible they give Michael Carter a bigger workload and they use him more in an early down to get the run game going, especially with Knight's injury? Yeah, but like Knight could be feeling way better. Maybe they inject him with something. I don't know. And they just don't trust Michael Carter anymore too, right? Or they just want to keep him to the passing usage. That's the biggest thing. Like if Carter had a passing reception total or something, I'd probably be looking at that, but he doesn't. And I don't really know what his usage is going to be on the ground. So I think that Carter over rushing, I guess you could mix it in with Knight. I mean, that's fine. I think that he's kind of a tough one though. Like I think just the projection. The projection is fine. I kind of agree with it. That's pretty much exactly where I thought he would be. And the line is obviously, 4 yards bigger. So maybe asking for even like you may need like an injury in game tonight or something to get there. And then who knows, maybe they don't end up rushing it much too. So
no, they could go right past him. They traded for James Robinson during the season, and Robinson has basically been inactive for the last few weeks, but he's playing against his former team here. That was like the old Rex Ryan move, was to activate those ex-players, get them all motivated. We'll see if the Jets have a little bit of that with James Robinson.
That's a good point.
I'm just curious. I haven't read anything about that, but you have to do something with this Jets offense, because we only have 4 players on the board from the Jets. You have Zach Wilson, who we talked about. You get those 2 running backs. And then, let's say you want to go over on the passing yardage, like you talked about. Elijah Moore is the only receiver on here. Garrett Wilson, for whatever reason, is not part of the pick'em. None of the tight ends are on here. Conklin's been a big threat for the Jets. So, and Elijah Moore could disappear at any given time. He's been a lot better the last couple of weeks. So, I mean, you can go over on Zach Wilson passing and really, I mean, if you said, okay, Moore's not going to be the guy and it's going to be Garrett Wilson going for 150 receiving yards, which is something we've seen this year, you don't really have anything to pair Wilson with. It's very strange the way that it sets up tonight.
Yeah. And unfortunately too, like, I think it's going to lead to like if people take the over on Zach Wilson, I think it'll just make the over on Elijah Moore more popular too. So it'll make it a little bit less of a contrarian move. I still think that'll be like the lesser owned play. I don't think people will be going out of their way to do this, but it could have been like a very, very low owned play if we had like a Wilson prop as well. But I mean, if I'm taking the over on Wilson, I'd be fine going on the over on Moore as well. I mean, Moore is a player who obviously, volatile this year, complete disappointment, but when he's right, I mean, he can get this on like 2 catches, on 1 catch, quite frankly. So really talented, going up in a very good matchup, quite frankly, too. That's the other thing. Like, that's why I kind of, was hoping we'd get more of these Jets receivers, but we don't. So it's a great point on Robinson too. I just wanted to finish that thought. Watch the inactives. I mean, if Robinson is active here, it's a great point. Like, I think that really kind of puts you in a spot where maybe you should be looking to take the unders on both the running backs. I don't think they're going to activate Robinson without trying to get him involved. Like he doesn't, I don't think he doesn't play special teams or anything. So I don't see that as something that would happen.
And I haven't read anything about that, just to be clear. It's just something that occurred to me while I'm speaking on the show.
But it's a good point because, like you said, I saw the note. They want to try and get the run game going. What coach doesn't want to try and get the run game going? But Robinson is a key figure because if he's active, I think they're going to give him the ball, some touches, which is it's bad news for both the other guys. So good point. I think more and you could just take the over on Zach Wilson. It's a less of a variable play, but if you want to go for just a little bit more variance, pairing him with Moore, I don't even know how much more variable that is. Obviously we like more as an underplay, but it's not a huge spread. So it at least gives you a little bit of it can even add a little bit more uniqueness. Like you could take that Zach Wilson over and add to it a little bit, but it is kind of unfortunate we don't have more receiving options.
Yeah, I believe I read that Zach Wilson has the most air yards per game in the NFL, and he certainly did last week. He's throwing everything down the field. So, look, with Elijah Moore, if you're going to go over on yardage for Zach Wilson, you could take the over on yardage for Moore. If you're going to go under on Wilson, then take the under on receptions for Elijah Moore, because as you mentioned, he can get those 44 yards in one play with the way that the Jets fire the ball down the field with Zach Wilson at quarterback. Lineup generator. Have you heard about it? Do you know about it? You should. It's over at Stokastic.com. Makes it super easy to build your lineups for showdowns, for full Saturday, as we have this week, a triple header Sunday on Christmas, whatever it is that you're playing. To help you out, NFL, NBA, saves you a ton of time. You don't have to sit there with the pen and pencil crunching these things out. Not that you're doing it quite that way, but it'll also allow you, what I like is it'll tell you how much value you have in your lineup. We like value, but when we're trying to take down a GPP, like we're talking about here, you want to be contrarian, but not stupid. And sometimes it's hard to be contrarian and not stupid. This will tell you, when you're straddling the line between contrarian and smart. And if you get into stupid territory, it'll turn red and flash at you or something. So check it out. It's included when you sign up for our DFS packages, and we'll help you for all your DFS needs. All right, one player we haven't hit on yet, Travis Etienne, 64.5 rushing yards is the over-under. He's been under this consistently until this past week against the Cowboys, went off for 100-plus yards. It was pretty impressive against the Cowboys defense. Jets are very good against the run. If you're taking the under on Trevor Lawrence in the Jaguars passing game, and you think this is going to be a real mutter event in the rain, I suppose there's room for him to get over.
Yeah, I think that's exactly how I would play it. We just have so few props to play from. Like, I mean, again, if you're starting out with the Lawrence under, taking the big line, that's fine. We got a high probability there, but like you have to make other choices here. So mixing the Lawrence under with an Etienne under as well, you're basically playing for the Jags just to like almost get shut out here. Like that feels a little bit of a stretch. So maybe the weather contributes, but it almost feels like you're going too far in the other direction. So I would probably, very much look to correlate those two and go over on Etienne, who has had big games against good rush defense this year. Like he's good. I mean, he's just #good. So the Jags O-line been fairly good as well. I don't mind this matchup for him at all. I think that if Lawrence goes under, there's a very good chance that the reason he's going under isn't necessarily that he's just turned into soup or something. It's more that the Jags rush game is working out well and their game plan there is working. So that like to me, again, it's not one you necessarily have to take, but I think it correlates very well with the Trevor Lawrence under. And we just don't have a ton of props to choose from here. So, I think making those two like a kind of a core play makes a lot of sense. And then you can kind of pick and choose. You could take the over on Ingram. You could extend it, maybe take the under on Marvin Jones. Just pick and choose from there. But those two seem to correlate well, just like I think the Knight and Wilson props correlate as well. I actually think Lawrence and Etienne probably correlate even better than Wilson and Knight, because Wilson's probably just going to chuck it anyways. So who the hell knows what he's going to end up with? But I think Lawrence is more of like a game flow situation here, whereas if Etienne gets going, it'll really affect his volume.
If you're fortunate enough to watch the game tonight with a Jets fan near you, there's a physical wince every time Zach Wilson throws the football, which is not foreign to us Jets fans. So
Zach Wilson is just living his best life. I mean, he's taking advantage. How many starts he has left? Who knows? He's got to look for Elijah Moore as many times as possible down there. 50 yards,
All he's got is arm talent. He just wings the ball and looks good out of the hand, and then everything after that is bad. All right, so let's real quick versus the house. You got Tyler Conklin and Garrett Wilson if you want to play versus the house. They're not in the pick'em. Garrett Wilson's only 53.5 receiving yards. Again, I understand there's weather that is an issue here, but that seems pretty low to me. And then Tyler Conklin, who's been a big target of Wilson's and the Jets this year, 21.5 receiving yards for the tight end. That seems pretty low as well. Those jump out at me. Anything for you? Either of those two jump out? I give you more lines if you want.
Yeah, no, Wilson's line is pretty low. What's Christian Kirk at? We talked about him a bit.
48.5.
Yeah. And again, like I think both those players, this would be like the game. I'll call it a game time decision, but I unfortunately it's just one of those situations where if you can sit and really get as much weather info as possible, if it just doesn't look too bad. I mean, Christian Kirk over the middle, he should get fed in this game. He really should. The shorter passing routes, probably get involved in the screen as well. He works well there. I think 48.5 for a guy who's averaging like well over 70 yards per game for the last 6. It's really low. So good, not a good matchup, but again, like we're talking about a pretty spread Jags receiving core as well. Wilson certainly. Sorry. Oh, were you gonna say something?
Oh yeah. Well, I was gonna make a comment on the weather, but I don't want to interrupt that much. You're good.
Okay.
Go ahead. Finish off.
Looked like you're gonna say something.
And yeah. Sorry. All right. Anyway, I'll talk. So the Jets did play a game in the rain a few weeks back at MetLife Stadium. It was pouring rain throughout the game. That was the Jets-Bears game, and Mike White threw for like 400 yards. And they moved the ball up and down the field. Now, the Bears didn't do as well offensively, but the rain wasn't as big a factor. Now, I don't think there was as much wind as we're expecting tonight, but I think the wind is really what you want to keep an eye on with those weather reports.
Hey, if you see the rain going sideways, probably just abort any over ideas here.
Watch the pregame show.
Just coming straight down, people's hats are staying on. You're probably good. I also like the Etienne over for an over. We have him projected for a pretty big week. What's his prop on the versus the house?
So they don't have props. 71.5.
Yeah, and again, like we have him projected for over 80 yards, just in terms of what he's looking at for the week. I like that play. He was dealing with a bit of an injury like a few weeks back. He just looks better the last couple of weeks, and maybe it's just like an eye thing, but I think that he's going to be kind of key for Jacksonville. He'll get going at some point. So It's a bigger line, but I would lean over there as well. Lawrence, probably an under, but it is kind of a boomer bust thing. That's like, I'd almost just be fine. Not like, you don't have to bet every player, obviously. And Lawrence is kind of a guy I'm kind of just fine leaving off rosters. Might look at the rushing totals for the quarterbacks as well. Not sure where they're at, but we do have both guys projected for over 15 yards. Probably actually be more bullish on Wilson. I feel like he's probably more in a spot just to kind of, dance around back there, take off. Feel like Lawrence maybe a little bit more of in the pocket today.
All right, so we're expecting some weather. That'll be something to keep an eye on in the hours ahead. The injury report as well, with the Bam Knight being questionable, expected to play. We'll see what happens with James Robinson, if that's any kind of an issue. But yeah, play different ways to get involved. You can play the pick'em contest. You can play versus the house. If you play versus the house, you can combine with NBA picks, and we've got expertise coming as far as this mini 2-game slate in the NBA tonight, as Terry and Gundacker are going to be taking care of you. And then we'll get back to the NFL Showdown live before lock at 7:15 Eastern right here on the Stokastic DFS channel. Geoff Ulrich, the best. Appreciate you, bud. Freezing your tuchus off up there in Alberta and making it happen, laughing at it's 40 degrees at the Jets game comment that we're making here, but it's all right. I'm Pete McCarthy. Good luck. We got NBA content next.
Balmy 40 degrees.
Balmy.